Hi everybody, lovely to see you here again. I hope you enjoyed the previous videos and thank you so much for the lovely comments. Some of you even offered to sponsor it, and if you feel free to, and if you can comfortably, then there is a PayPal link that you can look at the description of each video. We'll look a little bit in this 5th video of following the training of Kalsi that came here a few weeks ago. We will look at the light cues, the importance of not pushing, pressuring or holding the horse. Enjoy! I'm here with Kalsi again, and we were going to demonstrate a couple of things I thought today. First of all, thank you so much everybody that have watched the video so far. It has been actually way more than I anticipated, which is great, and a lot of people have subscribed already to the channel. And make sure you do that if you don't want to miss out on any other new videos that come. So I've gotten a few questions and comments that I wanted to just maybe focus a little bit more on today. And we're first just going to look at a little bit more groundwork. I have to admit, I'm not the biggest groundwork person. I take kind of like sessions, like let's say a few days, few weeks, where I focus a bit more on it, and then otherwise I'm kind of more riding. But Kalsi here has done maybe a little bit, mainly because I have already used him a tiny bit for teaching, even though he's still pretty green. As I said, for you that might not remember, he came from Iceland end of January. And then, yeah, so he's been here a month and a half now, exactly. And the first week or two I did very little, and then you saw basically the first week of training in the first 4 videos. So there's a little bit more that has happened, even though the weather sometimes was bad enough that I didn't do anything. So here we go. First of all, leading. Once again, like I demonstrated in the beginning, I'm standing here by his shoulders. I don't want to be pulling his reins, and my body language leaning a little bit forward. I might use the whip a tiny bit if I need to, but first I just offer him to move forward with the voice signal. So the focus today is just going to be on light signals. So forward with a little voice signal. If nothing happens, oh, there he goes. So I give him a little chance to think about it. And this was actually quite nice. He didn't overreact, but he still kind of thought about it for just a second, and then he reacted. And when I stop, I want the body signal also to be a little bit clear for him. So I go a little bit back with my upper body, raise the whip, say ho. And now he's a little moving away from me, which is also an indication of that I haven't done this very much. So we'll go forward again. Just give him here the benefit of that way. Yeah, moving, good boy, so on me. And then again to a ho, ho. So here I have a little bit of a support from the fence, and forward again. There we go. And once again, ho, ho. And see here again, he's a little hesitant there. He doesn't stop quite yet. So I could definitely practice that a little bit more. If you do practice this properly, it is actually really fun to then go into maybe a little bit of running, and the horse will follow you really nicely. Now, the other section that I went a tiny bit into last time as well is that I move the reins here over his neck, and I keep my hand here by the saddle, and you'll see it better from the other side. I'll just move on now. I lift my whip here over my shoulder, and the same body signals, go a little bit forward, and I want him here to move a little bit forward and walk. If I need, I'll touch him gently on the croup, on his bum with the whip. But first I just want him to move forward, and there, good boy. And I can see quite nicely here his eye, his ear, his mouth, his nostrils, and ho. So again, body language a little bit backwards, ho. There I accidentally tickled him a little bit with my arm, ho. There you go. And now you can maybe zoom in and see that a little bit better, where my hand is here behind the knee roll of the saddle, so I can use that as a little support. Obviously you can do this without the saddle as well, but here, since I'm going to be riding just in a moment, I decided just to have the saddle ready. I have the stirrups just leaned up. Of course you have maybe different stirrup leathers, and then you can lift them up in a different way, or you can let them hang, depends. I have learned that Kalsi is maybe a little more sensitive than I realized in the very beginning, so if the stirrups are bangling around, he might take that a little bit too seriously. So here again, body language a little bit forward, and forward, and maybe touch him gently there on the bum if I need to. His reactions to lift his head are still there, but getting a little better. And now I'm going to bend him a tiny bit here towards the inside and see if I can make him cross a little bit over. So I'm asking here to get a hold of that inside shoulder I need to mind my outside rein, just like when you're riding. And as I said, the maybe main focus on this there today is to demonstrate the lightness of the cues. Like I'm not trying to push the horse aside, clearly. And ho. He weighs probably around 400 kilos. There is no way I'm going to push him anywhere. And the more I put on pressure, the more he's going to hold against me. I think the lighter you are, the less you do, the more you get normally. Now we're going to do just a little bit on this other side here as well, because we kind of always need to make sure that we do things from both sides. And the reality is that the horses aren't always the same left and right. So we need to also figure that one a little bit out. Same thing here. I have my reins crossed in my hand, a little bit forward kind of body language, and then ho, and I go a bit back there, and again forward, and again ho. So he responds okay to this. Again, he's a little bit trying to move away from me. Another signal that we could practice this definitely a little better. And here we go again, crossing the reins, moving forward and forward. And don't forget that when you're standing beside the horse like this, he can see you really clearly. So use your body language. You feel here he's starting to drift a little bit towards his left side. So I need to apply my outside rein. He's a bit confused. Seems like he's trying to offer me, well, let's just go to the left instead. He prefers that. We already felt that in the beginning actually. So here I need to have a little bit of a whip in front as well, because otherwise he drifts too much in towards my space. There we go, good boy. So I'm just gently here behind the saddle a tiny bit. I have to mind my position. If I go too far forward, I'm going to be blocking his forward energy. So just to demonstrate that, if I'm here, this is no good. Here I'm blocking the energy and I'm all getting cramped in my shoulders. Oh. If I go too far back, then of course I'm also in a little bit of a vulnerable position. Forward. So before we move on to riding, I'm just going to see if I can get hold of this shoulder as well. Little crossing there. Good boy. Good boy. So nice. And I have to mind that I don't lose control over the outside shoulder, that he doesn't just pop his outside shoulder out, oh, like he's trying to do now. He just wanted to glue himself here to the fence and drift away from me. So then I better just stop, wait, make sure that he's with me before I continue. Good boy, there you go. And then again, the half halt comes a little bit from the outside rein, little body language as well. And then I might just touch him gently there on the shoulder. Good boy, there you go. Now he drifted a little bit, but still he gave me the shoulder at least. And easy. Good boy, there you go. And you see the importance also of going slow enough. Oh. If I want his reaction to go sideways, I need to make sure that the possibility of going forward is basically closed. Why would he go sideways if he can still just go forward? So if he can just bend his neck, and I don't have any contact on the outside rein, he would just bend his neck and continue walking in a straight line. So I need that outside support in order to hold his outside shoulder a bit and to block the forward energy a bit. There you go, good boy. And now I'm going to just take down the stirrups. As I said, just a tiny little recap on the, well, some options of groundwork. There is loads that you can do from the ground clearly. And this was just a tiny bit of a suggestion that I often use. I sometimes use it before riding, I sometimes use it after riding as well. You can do either or. Especially if I feel like I've actually done, well, maybe twice with him, that if he feels particularly stuck on one side, one shoulder, then when I come off, I just kind of influence that a little bit. So I'm from the ground and just trying to get a little bit hold of that shoulder. And remember, he's not a young anymore, and he never really got trained to bend properly. So it took a little while to get there. I just and then grab hold, go gently up and sit down. And he has certainly gone, he has learned this particularly well, that he waits until I tell him to move forward, which is great. He's waiting to get his treat. He thinks he's going to get it now on the left side, so maybe I'll, just to tease him a little bit, I'll give him here on the right side. And maybe you'll remember that at one point I could only bend him to the right. Now I've practiced a little bit more to the left, so now he's actually keener on offering me the left side. But sometimes I do both, sometimes just one side. Good boy, there you go. And make sure that they don't just grab the treat and run off, but that you actually give them a little few moments where they are kind of chewing on it and just getting a little cuddle maybe. You think you're going to get more, don't you? There we go. Now, so first, quite loose reins. As you can see, he's quite relaxed and just goes in a slow walk gently here. Drifts a little bit towards his friend, which is quite normal. I'm not too bothered about that in the beginning. I'm just trying to get him first here to be relaxed and feel like he can move forward without me really doing anything. I don't really want to have to tell him constantly to do things. I just want the forward energy to kind of float a little bit on its own. And the theme, as I said today, is that lightness of the cues. And I want to just kind of emphasize that when I'm leaving him alone, I'm basically doing nothing. I'm trying to do nothing. It's really hard. It's not an easy thing to do nothing as a person. But just following, not pushing, not squeezing, not pulling, just following. Maybe patting a tiny bit, maybe talking a little bit. There you go. Yeah, there you go. And I think this is very beneficial. My boot got stuck there a little bit. That's why I'm messing with my left leg. There you go. Good boy. Sonny. And that's very positive. I find that they just relax and breathe out like that. Even stroking him a little bit. And I've kind of tried to also get him used to that I can move a little bit here while he is relaxing in the beginning. You see his ears are pointed at me. He's maybe a little bit unsure about this, but he is okay with it. Oh, there you go. That's it. Even scratching him here a little bit on his bum. He's thinking about stopping. That's okay. I just tell him gently with my voice signal, you can keep on moving, it's okay. You see his ears, he's a little bit hesitant. And again, I'm not trying to really do anything. I'm desensitizing him up to a little bit. I don't want to desensitize altogether, clearly. I want a sensitive horse that reacts quickly and reacts lightly from a light, nice, easy cue. But I also don't want him to be overreactive. I don't want him to think that as soon as I have maybe some pupil here on a lesson, when I'm teaching on him, and I tell them to take a circle with their hand, that he all of a sudden thinks, oh, this is a cue to go fast, or that they're scratching him or maybe touching themselves a little bit. You can see how he's a little bit worried about this, and then he's offering me to stop, and I allow that quite often, just in the beginning especially, because I think it's important that they realize that stopping is an option. If you're insecure, stopping is not a bad option, to be honest. Running away is maybe the first option that many horses offer you, and that usually is not the optimal option for us humans. There you go, good boy. Yeah, good boy. And now we'll start to work a little bit. And again, I'm going to try to have light cues. I'm following gently here with my seat. And then as I stop, I squeeze a little bit my bum and belly together. As in telling him, I'm stopped following. Oh. And by doing that, I automatically go a tiny bit back with my upper body and a little contact comes on the reins. And that was one of the questions as well regarding how I sent him down, because I put quite a lot of emphasis on that in those first videos, as his top line was very short. He kind of just wanted to put his head up straight away as soon as somebody touched the reins. So we worked a little more on that. And just to introduce that a little bit more again, the main thing is that we want control over the top line. That means I want to be able to send him down and tell him, relax please, send his head lower. If I try to hold him down and use low hands like I was told originally and taught, and many of you I'm sure are still riding like that, many horses will learn to yield to the rein like that, but quite often they just, there you go, good boy. They just maybe yield in their pole, so they bring their head down, but their neck is still short, high raised maybe even. So now I'm gonna hoe, say stop. He comes a little bit up and I follow him a little bit up. I'm not pulling on the reins, I'm just kind of holding a little contact there until he seeks down, which is when the reins come loose. And I guide him there a little bit, yeah, sending him forward again. So again, hoe, he comes a little bit up, I follow him up, there you go. And the reason as a flight animal, the reason that I'm going up with my hands instead of down, just to explain that a bit better, as a flight animal, horses have a tendency to pull against anything that pulls on them, to push against anything that pushes on them. Same reason why there is no point in trying to push him to the side. So if he doesn't respond to me here to go gently sideways, there's no point putting more pressure. He's 400 kilos, I'm not going to push him anywhere. And here, if I follow him up and lift my hands, oh, a little higher than the straight line from mouth to elbow actually is, which is the goal, then the contact to the mouth comes upwards. As a flight animal, his response is actually to go against it, to go down. And you can see he has figured that out. That is pretty easy for most horses to realize. The other option, that when they come up and my hand is really, really low, and I try to maybe pull them down and even hold them down, is that most horses start to hold against it, to even pull a little bit against it, and maybe lift actually their neck in the response in the beginning. So then we would actually be exercising the lower neck muscles, which is not really our goal normally. We don't want to get that under neck sticking out. And also, they, by doing that, shorten their back and even become a little bit hollow. Even if they then realize, oh, she wants me to come down, and they might actually yield to the contact, like now he's starting to push a little bit the shoulder, there you go, good boy. Then they might come down, but quite often it comes from a raised neck. So it doesn't stretch the top line then, but more like he's still raised and then just tips down his neck or his pole. And that way you wouldn't really get hold of the top line. The top line is still short, even though his head has dropped down. And the problem with that is, first and foremost, that you don't have contact to the hind, which is really the motor. So by having control of the top line also means that you have more access, more contact to the motors, to the hind. Now I'm sending him a little bit here to the side, checking that I have the top line here. And I've just started a little bit in towards shoulders in, shoulder 4. Oh, don't want to ride over the camera here. There we go. Don't know if you saw that. We'll do that again, but from a little bit more of a distance. This side is a little more complicated for him. There you go, good boy. So I always have to mind him there. He wants to kind of just drift to the inside, hang on that inside shoulder, make the circle smaller and smaller. So instead of allowing him that or trying to even bend him to the outside in order to get him towards the fence, I wait. I go slower and slower until I find that, oh, okay, now I have his attention. There's good boy. And I think actually getting him into a little bit of a shoulder in is very, very beneficial. He's gonna practice that a bit more, I promise, in the next few weeks. Good boy, there you go. Just a couple of steps, a little bit in the direction. Now, tiny bit on the other side. And the same thing there. No point in pushing or making any harsh signals with either reins or legs. If you push, he's gonna push against you. He gets kind of stuck, actually, I find. So if you feel like, oh, like now he's not really responding, I just wait a bit. Oh, wait a bit, get him aligned. There you go. And I might want to take a little circle first, a little volta as a preparation for the bending that I need. Ah, now he's drifting away from me. There, and again, I just have to wait there a little bit. There you go, good boy. So here, yeah. And I decided to try to record this now, even if it's pretty visible and we haven't done this, really. We just kind of tried, a couple of times. There you go, good boy. So a tiny bit in towards the shoulder in, couple of steps, release, and just allow him to walk. Now, good boy, that's it. There you go. So my goal is not necessarily to have a perfect exercise for the sake of the exercise, but to get more controls more keys on the keyboard, more tools in my toolbox. Because the more tools I have in my toolbox, the better I can influence as well, both his energy and his gaits, obviously, as well as his bending when it comes to that. And ho. And now the same, when I want him to go a little faster, light cues. If it doesn't respond to a really, like a little bit of a building up energy of my seat, squeeze a bit my upper thighs, knees, little bit on, but also bum, belly. So I'm building up a little bit the energy. Using a little voice signal. There you go, good boy. So more just from that light, there, building up energy in my seat, that rather than using too much leg. I like that he responds to that. He shouldn't be explosive, but he should respond. If he doesn't respond, I'd rather use a little tip of my whip, little tip there on his bum, in order to get a response, rather than using more leg. I find people, if they get too much using the leg there, you saw I touched him a tiny bit there with the whip, he responds with a bit of a tail swishing, which is fine. It's also an indication of that, okay, I got it. And also maybe that he's a bit ticklish, which is also normal. But if you start to use your legs too much, you get stuck both in your hips, you get kind of, well, basically, yeah, a bit stiff yourself, stuck in your own body. And it often escalates to something where you're doing too much and the horse is doing too little. And if there's one thing that I'm, well, definitely against is if you feel like you're the one putting in all the energy and getting completely tired and sweaty, and the horse is basically just stopping as soon as you stop rowing him forward. I don't think any horse really needs to be ridden like that. Even if they might be a little lazy from the beginning, they definitely can learn, I would say most of them, to react a little better, to react a little quicker. And the reaction, going forward, as well as stopping, of course, is the key to anything. Ooh. Comes a little bit up with his nose. There we go. Now I think I'll quit this for the moment. We've talked about the lightness of the cues, importance of having control of the top line, the reason why I'm lifting my hands and sending him down rather than trying to hold him down. Oh, there again. He's giving us plenty of opportunity to explain this. There we go. Good boy. There. And of course, his natural reaction seems to be to lift his neck, get a little bit too high. Oh, there you go. Good boy. But there is also a psychological part to that. If you can manage to tell your horse, lower your head, please, relax your top line, that also means relax your head, your psychic. So if they are a stressed animal and you manage to teach them this, it's like you get a little bit of a key to their brain. They start to become calmer and trust you better, simply. Now, thank you very much for this little program, and more to come later. I want to next time look at a little more his gaits. He is quite pacey at the moment, so we'll talk a little bit about clearing up the pace feet. Now, hang on, you need to still stay. Oh, I know, I took too long to come down. I make sure that he stands still before I jump off. Important. Good boy. There you go. Yeah. There you go. Thank you again. Oh, and if you like these videos, maybe you'll want to contribute a tiny bit towards it, only if you can comfortably. There will be information in the description of the videos where to do that. Thanks.